The next part, I'm going to zoom out on this image just a little bit, stretch it out. The next part is we're going to correct the image. So I will go back in here to levels or curves, and this is going to set up an adjustment layer, but you can do it directly to the pixels by going to the image adjustments here. This will work on the pixels directly, and then you can't change it or play with opacities or blending modes. So especially in the beginning of your Photoshop journey, it's a lot safer to use an adjustment layer because it's so editable. So I'm going to go into levels, and I'm going to click on the black eyedropper here. With that selected, then move out into your image window, and remember this is to set black point. Just put the tip of the eyedropper on that dot in the middle of the target of number 1. Okay, and it changes slightly. Then come out and click on the white eyedropper and move your cursor into the document window and click on the middle dot in the number 2, and you can see how that has changed the image, brightened it up very quickly. And now what we're going to do is set the gray point, and a lot of times you don't have to do this. These other eyedroppers take care of the color cast and contrast for you, but what I'm going to do is for the skin tones. But I'm going to save that for a second levels adjustment layer. So I'm going to click OK on here. That way I can blend it. And this is specifically targeting for the skin tone. So I'm going to click OK on this levels adjustment layer, which is set our black and white points, and I'm going to add another levels adjustment layer. So I'll come down here and click on the gray eyedropper, and this time I'm going to zoom in on the whites of the eyes like this, and in that gray area of the eye, and you can do it on either side, not too dark over here, but just a middle tone of gray. I'm just going to click once, and that's going to cool down the skin tone temperature. So I'm going to click OK and zoom back out like this. And if I want to bring some warmth back into the skin tone on the second levels adjustment layer, I can just back off a little bit, and we'll do that. Now the other thing to correct on this, notice that we've got the way the lights fell, we've got some shadow over here. How do we fix that? Well, we just did basically contrast and color correction here with these two levels adjustment layers. And so we've got that done. What I'm going to do is just shut the visibility off for them. I'm going to come down to the background layer here, and I'm going to create a new blank layer. And this is going to be for cleanup. Now these are off right now. We'll turn them back later when we do the cleanup. But the easiest way to get rid of this little fringe over here is to get your airbrush tool. So I'll go in here and select a nice airbrush, soft round, move it into the document window. If I need it bigger, I will click the square right bracket key a couple times. If you need it smaller, left square bracket key, a visual way to set that. Now when you have the brush tool selected, you can also select color. So what I'm going to do is Alt click on a brighter area that I want to even this tone out with. So I'm going to click over here, and notice how that sets the foreground color to that color, and make this a little bit bigger, and I'm just going to start putting that in, and maybe I'll work at about 60–70% for the opacity, and I'll start coming in here and cleaning up this area like so. Get a little smaller brush. This is on a separate layer. So, and especially when you have an airbrush, if you don't want to get too close into the hair, there's an area outside the brush. It's going to spray there, but it works really nicely when you do this. And then you can check, turn on your levels adjustment layers to see how this worked. And now we've got a nice white background. And if we need to clean up some of that overspray, we can either use the eraser tool or just add a layer mask to this. Now when you've got a mask highlighted, when it says layer mask up here, if you want to conceal something, we've got to switch to black. So you can click these little icons down here, the little tiny white and black squares, and that'll set it to the default colors. And then you can click the little switch icon here, the Kirby arrow, to put black as your foreground color. And we can come in here and just tap to get rid of some of that overspray that came in on the hair. But you can also do something like this. Let's show, since we're playing with airbrushes right now, if you want to create sort of a vignette effect around your portrait image. Oh, and how do we get rid of these little sampler points after we've set them, because they can be a little bit annoying? Just go into the eyedropper tool, click and hold, go to color sampler tool, and come up to the options bar and click clear. Alright, so now I'm going to click on the top levels here, and I'm going to create another new layer, and I'm just going to use white as the color, get my airbrush, get a big fluffy airbrush here, because here I'm going to create a vignette effect. And I'm just going to, with my airbrush, whoops, just move this around the image like so. Kind of gives it a soft focus kind of effect. And there you go. Some pretty simple techniques to quickly correct your image and add a little vignette effect.